Hi, Dr. Robin Trotman. With the holidays around the corner, Thanksgiving and Christmas, I wanted to take a minute to talk about some safe practices regarding travel during the holidays, as well as ways to make our holiday gatherings safe. Right now, it's important to understand the backdrop of what we're experiencing during the holidays. Right now, we're in a surge. We're at hopefully a peak prevalence of this disease, and I want people to understand it may be as high as 2 to 5% of people in the community right now, based on our testing of asymptomatic people that are positive for COVID-19. Keeping in mind that 80% of people who have this infection may be mildly or asymptomatic. So it's impossible for us to move about in our community, to travel, to get together with family members, and have any sense of certainty as to whether or not those people with whom we're gathering are actually infected and can transmit disease. So that's the backdrop. When we look at moving around, traveling, whether it be airplane, traveling international, there's some things that we can keep in mind, things we need to know about just the process of traveling and what's inherently at risk during different means of traveling. So first of all, if you look at overall traveling, the first thing that we need to do is be mindful of why we're traveling and how we're traveling. So is this trip absolutely necessary? Is there a way that we could do this virtually? Is there a way that we could limit the size of these gatherings? And if we can do this, it's absolutely going to keep our healthcare workers and our community safer during these holidays. So what we're asking of people at Cox and our healthcare system is that we try to limit this travel. We really try to limit our international travel, because we know that international travel, while there may be fewer cases in the population where you're going, just having to spend time in an airport, multiple layovers, being in customs in multiple places, and not having the established safe precautions in the communities when we go abroad make international travel pretty high risk. What we need to do is think about, when we travel, are we able to take a car? First of all, using your own vehicle and traveling with your bubble of people, your sphere, your household, is going to be about the safest way you can get to your destination. So that would be the first option. Moving from that, airplanes probably aren't as dangerous as we thought they were as far as transmitting COVID-19. There's some pretty good evidence that a lot of the transmissions occur before and after the plane flight. The air circulated pretty well, actually vertically from your seat up. And so if a person were to fly right now, if you were to fly with a mask, using frequent alcohol-based hand hygiene, trying to be mindful of the people around you, that's probably the best advice that I can give. Is as you travel, you really need to be mindful of who's around you. If there's somebody sitting next to you coughing without a mask, you're going to need to move. And it's going to be difficult, but this is one of the keys to successfully making it through a plane flight without getting sick would be wearing your mask, hand hygiene, decontaminating surfaces that you touch if possible, and then trying to keep a 6-foot distance and really trying to stay with your family, with your pack of people. The 60% alcohol-based hand hygiene should probably be on your briefcase, your backpack. And another thing that's recommended by the CDC is to limit your carry-on luggage. And so I've included a link to some information from the CDC on safe travel. But those are really the things that you can do. And then some other little tips might be really thinking about your personal health. You're not going to want to overindulge. Excessive alcohol decreases your immune system. You're going to want to be able to get plenty of sleep, a good diet, and try to stay healthy during these holidays. And that's going to protect you and your family from severe consequences of getting infected. You might still get infected, but if you're worn down and if you've been living not as healthily as you possibly could, then you may have a longer course of disease. And then I'm going to pivot to what do we do about holiday gatherings? And so I have some suggestions, and I have some links included from the CDC, some things you can do for your family. So of course we're going to want to limit size of our gatherings. We're going to bring family into the house, and we're going to be in close contact for prolonged periods of time. You're going to be in the kitchen, cooking, unfortunately doing dishes, and we're going to be sitting together, gathering, watching TV. So this is going to be prolonged indoor close contact, which we know is a major risk factor for transmitting disease. So here's a couple things you can do. First of all, try to limit the size. Try to get together virtually, and some of these things are in the links that I included. The other thing you can do is really know who's coming to the house. If you have college-aged family coming back from being in college and you have elderly parents or grandparents coming to the same gathering, that's probably not safe. And I would not recommend that. I mean, I'm taking those precautions. We're going to limit our family gathering just because, if I have kids in school and elderly parents, we don't want to mix those two for prolonged periods of time. If you can do it outside, great. Some things you can do is bring your own food to the gathering. So if you're going to meet at somebody's house, it would work great if you could bring your own food. You could not mix up too much in the kitchen. You could eat outdoors, and you could keep physically spaced and do those other things. If you're going to be close to your elderly parents, you can wear a mask even indoors. It's hard to do in your own personal space at home to wear the mask, but it might be important in certain circumstances. You're going to want to keep safe. You're going to want to keep healthy. You're going to stay up with your current medications, limit your alcohol, no overindulgence, and plenty of rest during the holidays. And I think if we do that, if we're mindful of our travel, if we really limit our exposure by taking a car, if possible, traveling with your own household, with your little bubble of people, and then when you do get together with your family, trying to limit that indoor prolonged exposure, I think we can make it through the holidays, but it's going to take some creativity. Space heaters and outdoor might be the key. College football all day with your parents and grandparents may not be a good idea. We may have to postpone that till next year. And I want people to keep in mind there's hope. We're not going to have immunity by the end of the year, but we will have a vaccine that's been deployed to the general population, hopefully by the spring. And so if we can keep our foot on the gas with these precautions for the next few months, I think there is hope in sight. This is a lot different than back in March and April when we felt hopeless and we didn't have an endpoint to our lockdowns. But this is very different. I think we're doing better in our patient care, our treatment in the hospital. Our hospitals are at capacity right now. We can't deal with more with another influx, with increasing prevalence in the community. It's really going to stress the healthcare system. So over these holidays right now, remember there is an end in sight. I think there's hope. I think with better therapeutics, vaccines, more knowledge about the disease, hopefully by next summer, if we can just bear down and make it through this holiday season, I think there's going to be hope. So everybody be careful, be safe. Remember these little tricks, and there's some links as well that you can share with your family, and we'll talk to you soon.